So I hope you had a good week, and I hope that you applied what we did last week. Last week we talked about market mapping, which is really finding out where our market is and identifying it based on a need, because a market is a system, and then going in and meeting the need in that market. Today we shall be talking about niche clarity. Why is that important? It's important because we are called to serve a specific set of people. I remember one of my coaches telling me if you serve everybody, you actually serve nobody. So we are the African MSME Collective, and we empower MSMEs to grow smart, lead boldly, and scale sustainably. Why is that important? It's important because across the continent, we do have a large decline of businesses. There is the standard global statistic that all businesses, many struggle, 75% of businesses struggle and close in the first 5 years. And what we're looking to do is really reduce that, really reduce that. So we want to help you build from startup to sustainability. My name is Chesubire. I'm a storytelling, leadership, and growth coach. And my co-founder, Joe Mukoko, who you'll be seeing on the call shortly, is our business growth partner and sales catalyst. In this space, what we're looking to do is ensure that you have all the skills, all the tools you need so that in the long run, you can succeed effectively. Allow me to rename myself. Excellent. So, our topic today is niche identification. And what we want to do is see clearly so that we can focus and position wisely. That's what we're looking to do. Many times we wonder, hey, why aren't things working? Why aren't we going? And it's really because of a couple of things we've not done. So many of us find ourselves stuck, not because we lack ideas, not because we lack systems to integrate. We're stuck because we are spread thin. We're trying to meet, we keep talking about, oh, your total addressable market. And it is this huge, 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 huge thing you're trying to accomplish. And that spreads you very thin. Your focus isn't clear, your effort is scattered, decisions are too many, so you end up suffering from decision fatigue, and therefore momentum is slow. Especially in uncertain markets, we cannot avoid or we cannot afford not to have clarity. Clarity is knowing who we serve, why we serve them, how much they're able to pay, and how our product solves their problems. Remember, we must be solving a problem for a very specific audience, right? So that when we say this is who we work with, we are actually able to sell effectively, tailor our messaging for them, and connect with them in ways that are only ours. If there is too much competition in your segment, then you have to differentiate yourself. But let's not run ahead of ourselves. So here are some questions. Before we choose and define niche and figure out what we're talking about, let's pause and consider. And I'd like to see the answer to these questions. Question one is, where am I currently? And um, currently spreading effort without a clear return. What activities are you doing that are not bringing a return? So a return could be, depending on what you set out your goals to be, a return could be increased sales, a return could be increased numbers on your pages, depending on what your determined goal is. So just take a moment and think, where am I currently spreading effort and do not have a clear return? There is no real response to my marketing efforts. There are a few sales here and there trickling in, but it's not clear. Mark that down, all right? And then think about which decisions feel heavier than they should be and why. Some of the examples of decisions that could feel heavier than they should be is what time we open, what time we close. And they could be feeling heavy because we are probably not making what we need to be making on a daily. So when we get to closing, we're wondering, was it worth it? How much do you need to make daily depends on what your costs are. You need to make enough to pay your rent, pay your teams, be enough to buy your stock and leave your profit. So what are the things that you're doing that make decisions you need to make that feel heavy. All right. And if you had to simplify your focus in the next 90 days, what would I stop doing? Now, that's an important question. Many of us actually are not thinking from this perspective. Why is this perspective important? You need to identify the things that are holding you down, weighing you down. So when you look at your processes, if you had to simplify what you're looking at, what would you let go of? Are you selling 15 products, but only five are moving? Then drop the rest, drop the 10. Are you selling five products and two are moving steadily? How do you then ensure more energy is put into the two that are moving steadily? And if you choose to balance the other three, that's okay. Because you put more energy where you get a higher return, then over time you can figure out whether these other three products are viable. I'll give an example. My chemist friend, I was talking about my chemist friend. My chemist friend used to stock certain medications. One specific one is ferrous sulfate. Ferrous sulfate is for people with a low HB, low hemoglobin level, and it is an amazing, amazing drug, and it's very cheap. It's like 1 shilling a tablet, and then you pair it with folic, which is 1 shilling or 2 shillings a tablet, and you pair the two and you take them. And when she opened her chemist, she used to stock that. But when she moved into our locality, she realized that stocking that is not useful because that particular medication would go out, it will expire before she sold even half of it. All right. So then she reassessed the market and after that reorganized her stock based on what sells. Now, in doing that, she spent money on stock that moves, but if you have a special medication that you need, you can give her the prescription. She knows enough of the distributors to be able to get you that specific prescription. But her daily stock became a different set than when she started. So she will keep that whole line of antacids. She has all kinds of them. She's got all kinds of cough syrup. But there are certain medications she stopped carrying. That is niche clarity. All right. So that's what we're working to help us gain by the end of this. So a niche identification is not limiting your long-term vision. No, it is not closing future opportunities, not at all. It is not a permanent identity decision or choosing to stop growing, and it is definitely not a destination. Most of us think that when you clarify your niche, you are stuck there for the rest of your days. What you're working to do is in this season, in this state of the market, is to understand what are the things that you need to focus on to be profitable. Why is that important? Because we're all in business for profitability. We're all here to make money. Tusidanganyane, let's not lie to ourselves. When you start a business, you are there to meet a need, but you are also in that space to make profit. So niche clarity allows you to understand who your market is at this moment, what do they need, and focus on delivering them, okay? So it is choosing where to focus your attention in this season. It is clarifying who you are best positioned to serve now. All right? Making sure your value is easier to understand and easier to choose. And it's really a point of focus. You are zeroing in on a subset. So let me give another example. Even when you're in the insurance industry, there are those who do general life. The general insurance, there's life insurance, there's health insurance or medical insurance, there's automobile insurance. What you have to understand is when you go into a niche, let's say you go into automobile vehicle insurance, I'm not your client. I don't have a car. I am an Uber girl currently, right? So I'm not your client. So you already know that Chisubire is not your client. However, your client is X age, X disposable income, has a car, and is looking to ensure it is secure. The other thing you'll be doing sometimes is you'll be looking for people who do comprehensive. So you're looking at a certain car age. Why? After a certain age, when people go to third party, it's not profitable for you. Why? It is 7,000, 8,000 shillings a year. As opposed to if I had a newer car, then you're able to pay more. However, you could also be in the insurance sector, but doing investments. So you're encouraging us, like many insurance companies now have money market funds, they have all these other access things that we can do. So you have to figure out who is doing what and how to connect with them. All right? So when you look at it like that, niche clarity allows you to focus energy. Remember, we all have 24 hours in a day. We all have finite energy. We all need to distribute our time between different things. So what you have to be looking at is, where do you direct your energy? What do you focus on? What can you communicate simply? And how do you build traction without burnout? So a niche is a point of focus. Can it change? Absolutely. Absolutely. It can change. Remember, it is where you put your focus in the season and who you serve now. Where you put your focus in the season and who you serve now. And it changes. It can change, but you need clarity for where you're going. So there are a couple of things I call the must-haves or the non-negotiables for niche clarity. Number one, clarity precedes growth. You must be clear before you grow, right? Let me use our children as an example. When we have children, what do we give them the first couple of weeks? We give them breast milk because it has everything they need. By the time they get to 6 months, you now need to add more into their day. So you're adding fruit, you're adding pawpaw, you're adding maybe a little bit of porridge, you're adding a little bit of now cow's milk to supplement if you do still don't have enough breast milk. In that process, what is happening is you are giving your child the sustenance they need for the season, because their first thing they need is immunity boosters and protein, which is in the colostrum we have in the early days of breastfeeding. All right. If at that stage you give that child solid food, they cannot digest it at all. So you are not benefiting the child at that point. So when you don't have clarity, you have all this activity going on. You're busy, 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 but you got no results. Clarity also helps you decide faster. So think about it like this. Back to my skincare lady. I talk about her a lot. By the time I met her, I knew exactly what I was looking for. But she is also very clear about who she's looking for. She's looking for African women who are interested in using more natural products, and who are willing to, over time, take the whole range. Right? So where did I start? I started with a lip gloss. I bought a lip gloss, a small body butter, and a small sunscreen. I just spent 1,000 bob. What was she doing when she goes for trade shows and fairs? What she wants you to do is test the product. So when we met, she was very clear. These are the small packs. Test. Certain that if I like the product, I will be back. But when somebody else came and asked, oh, about other things like skin whiteners, she's like, I don't do that. Whiteners, she's like, I don't do that. She's very clear that she's working with the women who want to improve their skin without lightening it. All right. So it makes her communication simple. Do you have a brightener? No, I don't deal in that. No, 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 no. I don't deal in that. makes her very clear. So when she goes to places and has queries about things outside what her product range is set to do, she's quick to tell you, you can move along. And that's not being rude. It's being very specific about who you serve. So then when you come and you say, my skin is dry, she will ask you a series of questions. How do you, when do you lotion? How hot is the water you shower with? Do you have a routine for the morning and the evening? She asked questions which for me were too excessive, but in hindsight, they helped me. So clarity precedes growth. Before I got there, I had my questions. She answered them. I have stayed a faithful client. In fact, I have expanded the range of products I use with her. Why? There are things I've been looking for, I've been unable to find that she now does. So she can say no with confidence, and I can say yes with confidence. All right. So, number two, when you have broad messaging, you weaken trust. I remember one of my mentors telling me, if you sell to everybody, you sell to no one. If your client is everybody, you have no client. Why is that? Because how you speak to me, back to my skincare lady, how she speaks to us, how she demonstrates the product is not for everybody. So she answers FAQs. How quickly does the sunscreen disappear when you apply it? And you know, she knows that some of us don't want to do foundation every day. So she has tinted sunscreens, but for us who can use it as a base for our makeup, or if you want that one that disappears completely, she has the regular white. And then even in that tint, what does she have? She's got caramel for the lighter girls and mocha for us slightly darker ones. So when she speaks, I feel like she's speaking directly to me. Directly to me. Another example. So today I'm using beauty examples. The place where I buy my makeup. I've never gone to the shop. We always chat on WhatsApp. And when I say I'm looking for this foundation, the first thing they say is send us a recent picture, no makeup. So I usually do a selfie. I send to them the ones where you can look once and it disappears. Eh? Why do I do that? So that they can confirm that the color I'm choosing is right for my complexion. But at the price point where they are, they're not serving everybody. But why do I go there? Because I know their product is legit. It is the original stuff. So no one in that ecosystem feels unaddressed. If you say, oh, I'm looking for the foundation for 200 bob, they don't stock it. They don't carry it. And they're very clear about it. Their marketing is very clear, which makes decision making easier. So, broad messages cause you to lose trust. Specificity builds trust because it signals that you understand who you are talking to. It's a clear sign that to went to. This one is our person. If we ask for XYZ, they will deliver. So broad messaging weakens trust. So you must be tightening your messaging when you have figured out who you're serving. Number three, your niche will evolve because your market evolves. People evolve every single day. So many of us avoid choosing a niche because we fear getting it wrong. Just try. Because clarity is not about perfection, it's understanding your audience now with their current tastes. A few years ago, you would not find me doing foundation all the way out. No. But as I went through a certain season, I reconnected with myself. This is what I loved when I was younger. I've gone back to it. Many years ago, you would not find me with foundation because my skin was sensitive. It has settled, it has cleaned. So I'm back all in. However, I'm a lot more careful. So I'm looking at who has products that do not strip my skin, but when I shower, when I wash my face, it feels clean. Why did I do that? Recently, I even got down to a cleanser. Again, from the same chick of my sunscreen, because I'm finding that her products are working very well on my skin. But I'm evolving because now I'm looking for more products that are gentler on my skin, which means the stuff I'm putting down. So it's not about making the perfect choice. It's about making the best choice with what we know now and adjusting as insight grows. Because confusion is costly, but clarity compounds, clarity increases. If I'm not sure who I'm serving, I'm just sending out to everybody, then I get stuck. So you will find even at AMC, we have different tiers of products. You know, this is the Tuesday session. This is available. It's open to all. It is free. But if you come and you want to implement the things you're learning and you want to do, go into coaching, that is not free. So if you just want to come and learn and go and apply on your own, that's okay. But when we begin to support you, design tools for you, when we go into programs and projects and provide support for entrepreneurs, it's not free. Why? Because now we're giving you specialized attention. We have partnerships with different people. For some people, we're a knowledge partner. So we step in every week and teach. There are other places where we're training partners. So when they have facilitation needed, we step in. And where they need coaches, we step in. But we never leave a client without a product they can use. Why? Because we have learned to customize. We have some base products that we will put a minor alteration for you that will work for you that may not work for another because we understand that niches evolve. We also have a pipeline to people who are doing other things. So when you get to the place of private equity, you're looking for funding, we have somebody we hand you over to. But we have built the foundations, which is clarity of what you do, who you sell to, how you sell to them. You are steady and stable. When you now need that final move of private equity, final touches of investor readiness, we hand you over. We're not trying to do everything. No, 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 no. We're not. We can, but we have in the ecosystem people whose focus is that. So why try and take everything? How has that helped us? We have built synergies, we've built collaborations. We have done trainings to support in financial management because of one of the partnerships we have. But we stay around training, coaching, facilitation, and one-on-one business growth. That's who we are. That's who we are. Whatever gap we have, we find somebody who can fill it because there's enough work for everybody. So when you understand that your niche evolves, then you know that confusion should not evolve with your niche. No, 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 no. So every so sometimes as often as 6 months, review your niche. Okay. So how do you do that? A quick framework, nothing very complex. A strong niche sits at the intersection of four key realities, which is what we'll talk about right now. Number one, the people. Do you serve most naturally now? The keyword, most naturally. Not everybody you could help will accept your help. Let me put it that way. All right. We're talking about the ones you really understand, the ones your communications will attract, and the ones you engage with consistently. Consistently. Who do you really serve naturally? I'm going to give you a minute to think about that. Whatever it is you do, whether it is you're employed, that's fine. In your place of work, who do you serve most naturally? That is part of the people who should be in your niche. Who do you serve most naturally? Write that down. If you have a few random thoughts, jot them because this is where you're now building your niche clarity. Your people are who you serve most naturally. All right? I think we could be almost done. Number two is the problem. What problem do they repeatedly bring to you? What problem do they repeatedly bring to you? So you're looking for recurrences. You're looking for repeats. You're looking for urgency. What do they really, really want solved now? That things that are emotionally or financially costly to the people. Because when you have a repeated problem, that is a signal that there is demand there. What problem do they repeatedly bring to you? Just make a quick note of that. Make a very quick note of that. All right? What problems are recurring? Which ones are urgent? Which ones are emotionally or financially costly? Those are signals of real demand. All right? Number three, the value. What do you bring that genuinely helps in this space? Genuinely helps. Many of us have met people who are all hype and no real lasting solution. Back to my skincare lady. She began this line because her child was reacting to products. I think he had either eczema or just a sensitive skin. That's how she went into making skincare products. She needed something that was not an irritant. So for her, she had the lived experience of struggling to find products that are agreeing with her skin or her son's skin. That was the first thing. Lived experience. She did not, at the point of starting, have the professional skill, but now she has gained it because she's actually the one who makes her own product. And now what is she doing? She's training her teams. All right. Let's have clarity that people struggle to find. That's the value you bring to the table. If you have the capacity, like some of us, easily understand concepts and simplify them. That is another level of value you bring because your niche is built on useful contribution, not interest alone. If I'm not adding value to your lives, we wouldn't have people on this call every week. Do we want more? Definitely. But we also want to track people who can say, when I joined, I was here. I have moved 15 steps. I have moved one step, two step, three steps. If you were with us in December, we did that. In December, we brought up 4 members from the community who could share their journey of growth by joining these sessions through the year. And I remember one of them said that she has made so much progress that now she cannot afford to miss. So even when she misses, and sometimes she does because she's in a different time zone, she always comes to get the recap. The recap, where do you find it? On the African MSME Collective YouTube channel. We put it up about 48 hours after the show, maximum. All right. So your niche is built on your useful contribution, not interest alone. So if you're interested in a space, are you able to contribute effectively to that space? All right. And the final pillar is commitment. What are you willing to focus on for the next season? And here is something I need to say. We see many entrepreneurs, you try something for 6 months, you leave, you try for 6 months, you leave. Every time you leave a sector, you start from zero. So let's say the way Joe and I have stayed here, this is our third year, we are now gaining mileage. Then we say, tumechoka, we are tired. and we change industries. Wherever it is we go, we will be starting from scratch. Now, a niche only works when you're prepared to be consistent, you're prepared to keep refining, and you are prepared to be focused, which means you resist distractions. I remember in some of the other places I have worked, I would design a product and I'd say, let's test it for 6 months. And people will be like, 6 months, bila kujua kama ita work. 6 months, not knowing if it will work. I'm like, that's how we test. Because there's about 8 weeks before people are fully aware of you. That's already 2 months. And then the rest is buying and testing and getting clients. So you're really testing for 4 months. Why is that important? Because if you give up too quickly, then what happens is you don't get full data points, right? And without full data points, you are not able to achieve your goals. So clarity requires commitment. It requires that you go out into the market, you understand who they are, you do a minimum viable product, you sell to them, they buy, they give you feedback. Oh, works here, doesn't work here, does this, doesn't do that. Back to my my skincare lady. Product A5, last mile delivery, 0. Why? The person they were delivering with was having issues. So I no longer have it delivered to me where I'm at. I use pickup mtaani. First of all, it's cheaper. Secondly, it goes to a place I know and it's just easier on the brain because they would dispatch product and you can have a rider calling you 8 p.m., 9 p.m. I'm like, why are you still doing deliveries at night? So their last mile solution did not work. Refine. So I called and I said, it's not working. And she was quick to say, yes, we have realized we're working on a solution. Now imagine if she had not stayed long enough to get that data. But then she began to say maybe that's why certain sales were going down. So I realized I get better service by WhatsApping them as opposed to going to the website. Because every time my product got delayed, I booked reserved from the website. So I no longer use the website. But their singular focus to resolve that last mile delivery between October and December last year was phenomenal. We have no delays now, right? So commitment means that you are willing to stay the course. Commitment means that even as you stay the course, you are willing to improve your product offering, improve your messaging, improve your service. You are willing to do a better job. So this is the thing about business. You may make a lot of money in the first year, but by year 3, if you're not iterating or shifting something, you may hit a plateau or a decline. All right? So with that in mind, then you are consistently assessing for the shifts and the changes in your niche because you are committed for the long haul. You could find that you have 3 different products for 3 different niches. I'll give us as an example. We have a business coaching product for teens. We have one for youth, and then we have this regular one that we deploy for adults. Why? Language, capacity, intensity. It's just that simplicity. What we did is we deployed the teens one first, we tested it first, and that teens one helped us simplify all the rest. And we did a fabulous, fabulous job doing that. So you have to know your people, you have to know the problem, you have to be sure that you're committed, and you have to understand the value that you deliver. 4 things. Your niche clarity is hinged on those 4 things. Your people, the problem you resolve, the value you deliver, and the commitment to stay the course. Now, are making losses, like losses. That is already a sign. Don't stay the course when you're loss making. Figure out what is making you make such losses and shift. All right. So here's a practical tool as we begin to wind down. It's a one-line niche statement. I help, specify the people, solve, specify the problem, so they can have a clear outcome. We're not asking you to write a slogan. It's not about being cool. It's about being clear. This statement becomes your decision filter, right? So, what do you mean by decision filter? It helps you figure out who to partner with. It helps you figure out your priorities. You figure out your content, your contacts, your offers, your product, your services. All right. So let me give an example. Instead of saying I help businesses grow, right? You say, you could say, I help early stage founders clarify their market and positioning so they can make confident decisions. Remember, we said I help and then you state who. So the person in this statement is early stage founder. And then we did I help, then we say solve a specific problem. So I help early stage founders clarify their market and positioning. And then specific outcome so they can make confident decisions. You're welcome, Anne. All right. I help early stage founders clarify their market and positioning so they can make confident decisions. This is about clarity. It helps you filter so that when you go and you talk to somebody and they say, oh, I am 5 years post revenue, you already know that's not your market. When you go to somebody and they say, oh, I'm looking for household insurance and you sell medical, you already know, not my client. And you know who to send that client to because it's partnership. Understand, my people, there is enough business for all of us. All of us. And you see, clarity is how we get accurate. Being clever. It's clarity. You could be bright as bright can be, but if you are not clear about who you help to do what, to achieve what, remember I said when it gets to the place of private equity investment, we pass you on to somebody else. Understand we can help you, but there is somebody we know in our ecosystem who does it fantastically well. So why not allow myself to focus on the one-on-ones or the group coaching scenarios with our current clients so that people are pushing to grow and build, and then we pass them on to the person who will help them scale. Am I losing? No, 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 no. Because you will remember, I help you do your foundation. I'm foundational to your business. You can't forget me. So niche clarity is about helping you achieve or accomplish your targets and your goals in the current season. Current. All right? In the current season. So, what changes? What do we do next? We must make the shift intentionally. Intentionally is the key word. We shift from appealing broadly to choosing deliberately, from scattered effort to focused execution, from hesitation to confident positioning. I remember going for a conference in December and being asked what I do. And I said, I work with MSMEs to be investor ready. Why do I say that? Because by the time we're done with you putting in your systems and your structures, you can not only attract capital, you can absorb capital. So one guy asked me, what's the general problem? I said, mindset. And he said, why? And some of you would be upset with me, but here's the thing. For most of us, we are so focused on food in the stomach, we do not look at sustainability. Don't get me wrong, food in the stomach is a critical conversation, but we have to get to a place where we are growing beyond our stomachs and school fees. We are building for sustainability and longevity. And it is a different mind that will build a subsistence business to the mind that will build a growth business. A growth business, you're looking at what could happen in the market. You're assessing cycles. For instance, we have elections every 5 years. So we must do really good business so that if we're in industries that stall during the electioneering period, we have reserves that keep us going. If we are geared towards a certain generation, there is a way we must build, right? So an intentional shift from broad field to focus, deliberate choice. We're going from scattered to focused execution. We are going from hesitating to speak about what we do to confident positioning. So that when people see you out there, they know what you stand for. They know who you're reaching. They know where they're going. I sat for coffee with a friend on Wednesday last week, and she said, these things I see every week, tell me more. It tells me my marketing effort, hey, it has achieved, it has accomplished. But she had one piece of feedback that we have already implemented and we've seen greater reach. Last week, Wednesday, in that conversation, we began to design a product because now there is something we offer that she's been looking for. Clarity helped us. So before we go any further, do we have any question? Anyone with a question? If you're on the talk, please just put it in the comment section. I'll see it here in the room. If you have a question, let me see it before I wind down. I should be winding down and somebody is about to start prompting me to do so. Any questions? So you must understand that niche clarity is understanding who you serve now in this season, and then being so clear about who it is so that when you see them, you know them. And when you meet somebody who is not your target, you are able to say, I don't do that. You could reach out to so so, just say, I don't do that. Do we have questions? Or do we just wind up? Do we have questions? I can see there are none. So I think we can safely say. My question is, let me see that one. I've just seen it pop in. What's the difference between niche and understanding the customer you're serving? But it was answered with your excellent, excellent. Next session, we're going to be doing your customer avatar, which is really describing your customer in a way that when you see them, you know them. Let me give a funny example. So I use public transport a lot. And when I get to the stage, to the bus stop, they always assume that I'm going to a certain locality because I don't look like where I'm coming. I live much further out of town, so they always assume I live in South B. So when I turn the corner, they all come South B, South B. But if I walk through the bus stop past certain stages, they will never come to me because they know I do not live there. I do not look like that place. So what you have to be able to do is you're defining the problem that you solve. When you clearly define that, then we talk about the customer that you serve and we make them clear as day. If you're a lipstick seller and you're selling purple lipstick, I'm not your customer. I'm a red lip, maroon lip girl. So when you see me, you will know I'm not blue either. I find those girls who wear blue very daring, right? If you sell braids, if you look at me, you can tell I am not your customer. Look at the length of my hair, right? But when I walk on the streets, you can tell I do my nails. So, of course, when you walk past all these guys, auntie nails, of course, they will call out, right? So the framework allows you to figure out this is the niche. And then in the niche, now you study your client and you define them and you refine them until you are certain about who it is you are talking to. So I hope that is helpful. All right, so let's quickly land this plane. Clarity is something you choose, not something you wait for. You don't sit there wondering, how will I know? You decide you need clarity. And then you go out and you pursue it. You have data points. You've been selling. You know who you're selling to. You know which product is moving. You know what's not moving. You know what your community need. You know how you can meet that need. So clarity is something you choose, not wait for. Need clarity is also an act of leadership. It is you as the head of the team or you as a core member of the team stepping up and saying, we need to be clear. And it requires honesty, restraint, and commitment. So you have to be honest about the feedback you get, honest about who you're talking to. Restraint because you must think through these things. If people tell you something on the ground that you don't like, don't explode. Think about it, process it. And of course, we said be committed to make the changes that need to be made. Because when you choose focus, what you're doing is creating conditions for meaningful growth. You are not narrowing your future. I'll give an example. You remember when we never used to have very small packs of things like margarine, and then the big manufacturers realized there's a set of people who cannot afford. I remember being told by a friend of mine who used to live in Kibra that they could even buy toothpaste for one brush. Or you could get sugar by the teaspoon. So what happened? You could actually go and buy Blue Band by the teaspoon. So the manufacturers went and did the Kadogo economy. Things like small sachets of milk powder, small sachets of Blue Band, which is margarine, and you realize you cannot find like the Blue Band sachets outside the informal settlement. You can't because they have figured that is where they sell it. Okay. And then they shrunk that one, I think, is 50 grams. And then there's a really tiny 100-gram pack. Again, it is not in the major supermarket chains. It is found in the ones machinani. Niche clarity. They have chosen a focus point. They have realized that those of us who buy in supermarkets, buy larger quantities and they want to go smaller. So they go and they design a product. Remember, I said earlier, you could have different segments for your product. How they've designed those smaller sachets and those smaller packages. All right. What happens when you are clear? You gain momentum. So clarity brings momentum, and clarity begins with a decision. It begins with a decision. A choice to understand, a choice to grow, a choice to thrive. That's what clarity does for you. So seeing that there are no questions, let me hand it over to Joe to land this one. I can see, Dorothy, you say, I especially liked giving my business, the thought of giving my business the substance it needs for this season. Fantastic. Over to you, Joe.
You can see me?